this really quick. Basically, the deal is there's an individual who passed away in some form of either like a shooting or like their life was taken from them. That younger man that I was connecting with, how did he actually pass away?
In a shooting.
In a shooting. Okay, so that makes sense.
And it has to be my dad for sure. My brother Rafael, and this was his watch. He passed away when he was 26 years old. He was 2 years older than me. So right now he would be 48. And he passed away, and of course it, changed everybody's life in our family.
This is kind of confusing. He's referencing to his passing, and then he's having me talk about like transition happening after he passed. This is kind of confusing, but it feels like there's a passing and then people either move or residentially change, or like there's some form of a move in the way this comes through. There's such a big emphasis on the move and making a move and wanting people to get out of somewhere. He wanted this move to happen, like a big move, and it honestly feels like it's not we're just moving down the street. No. There's like a big move.
It did
emphasis.
happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, and this happened after he passed?
Yeah, right after.
Right after, because the feeling with this is like a collective, like an exhale, like, oh, thank God, they're out. They're out. For him, that feels like one of the best things that could have been done, because that huge move, and not just for one person, this feels like a whole group of people. There's an appreciation there behind this. From a family perspective, it's like, as long as they're away from here, there's a sense of peace.
We are 4 siblings, and my brother, him and I were closest to age, so we grew up very close to each other. After he was killed, we kind of like all came together, and I decided, since I was already living in the United States, to bring the rest of my family to where I was living in Florida. And Claudia, my niece, moved with her mom to Bogota, the capital.
What's interesting is that, when sometimes people will pass, and I'll connect with them, and they actually won't actively still be involved in their family's lives. In this case, he is still massively involved in his family's lives. The way this is coming in is like, there's a brother figure.
Yeah.
There's a whole hesitance in the way this is coming through, which makes it a little bit more of a challenge for me because of the feelings behind this. So I feel like I'm slipping. Like it would be something that would affect the brain, and it's like, I want to present myself in a certain way. I want to show people who I am, and it's like, but because of this thing, I'm not able to be who I want to be. And it just keeps coming in like over and over again. So,
sounds like Mike.
It's a very insistent thing with this, of having to talk about the mind and the brain. So, let me look. What was his first name?
Michael.
Oh. This is coming in as a situation, I'm like getting emotional. I don't typically that. I kept hearing, I didn't know what was going on. And then they're having me talk about 2 factors playing on someone's mental state. But there's an acknowledgement with this of more of an emphasis on the drugs and alcohol than even is the mental illness thing. It's when we go down the drugs and alcohol route, it's kind of like there's no saving me.
Yeah.
That kind of triggered or kicked off some things.
Yep.
And that seems significant. So family has wondered that. That's validation.
So crazy. I mean, that's like so accurate. Mike dealt with, we think, bipolar disorder. He would go into these manias and think that, everything's great, everything's fine, and then he would just crash and would be depressed, and it was just this constant up and down, and then you throw drugs and alcohol into the mix, and it would just enhance everything. And it went on for years. He was dealing with some demons, there's no doubt about it.
Let me look and see what this is, because I have to talk about a younger female. From her perspective, she passed before her time. Because I'm getting pulled over there.
Alana, she's here today. We are like sisters.
Like, they have a message for someone in the other room. Because from that direction, there's an acknowledgement of cancer, but there's a whole feeling that comes through with this, of basically a feeling of there being a rush to get to someone's bedside. And there's a feeling of needing it to be known that this individual, and it's coming through from that room, was physically holding on at the time that she passed away. There's like a rush. I needed someone to tell me it's okay for me to go, like I can transition, I'm okay with this. But it's very distinctly coming through as an appreciation for being told, like, you don't have to hold on. She's also having me highlight a reference to the month of December. And for some reason, referencing to a significant day in the month of December, they're having me highlight basically around the holidays. And they're really putting a heavy significance for some reason. And then she refers to a knowledge of 3 people, and she refers them there. So I don't know why.
She refers to a knowledge of 3 people?
Knowledge of 3 people. So I don't know why all that's popping in.
Should we ask?
Sure, we can ask.
Alana.
Yes.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. My sister passed away, and we found out she had cancer in December. She died with her 2 kids.
She was pregnant with twins when she found out she had cancer.
Yeah, it was a pretty traumatic event.
All 3 of them passed together. Oh, I'm so sorry. So they're having me talking about the 4. For some reason, they're having me talk about like 4 kids, 4 siblings, like the 4 situation.
Oh my gosh. They just got the chills.
But they're having me talk about 4. So do we know where the 4 would be within the family?
Yes.
There are 4 of us.
Oh, nice. Okay, very cool. So the way I would describe this is when I have an energy coming through that's like a contemporary, they'll show it being on the same level. And a contemporary is typically someone who would be generationally like around our same age. We'll get into more what this is, but it's that kind of energy that to me feels almost kind of premature, as I would be viewing like too soon. It's interesting, like sometimes they'll come through and want to talk to parents or refer to like other people in family, but there's really a priority about wanting to refer to the siblings and talking about the siblings. And it's just like, that's where all the focus is. It's like,
It's important.
it's like essential. And I keep hearing sister, 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 sister. I don't know what this is, but it has a couple different, there's like a double meaning with this that I'm trying to pick up on. There's a feeling of like, I wish I could stick around longer because now, like, this is when I would start having opportunities.
Yes,
and, like, they're showing me, like, I don't know what this is. I'm seeing fashion shows and references to, like, I'm seeing my picture being taken in photography and all this stuff. I don't know if this was stuff that was, like, planned or in the works at the time. So, where does that apply for you guys?
We have had a sibling that passed away a year ago yesterday.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Alexis, who was our transgender sister.
Oh.
But was very comfortable with both at the end. It didn't matter.
Right.
So a year ago yesterday died. And Alexis came out 20 years ago and was the famous person who was a boy who wanted to be a girl and was a pioneer. And I think it was sad because it's more accepted now.
Right.
And Alexis would be doing such incredible work.
That's so sweet. Despite passing at what I would consider to be like untimely, there's a feeling of acceptance. And I know this is kind of hard to explain, but this person gives me this feeling of like I was okay to go before I died, but despite the fact that this feels like sudden or fast or quicker, there's a feeling of like I've thought about this before. This almost is like someone who would have taken into consideration the idea that they might not live a full life. And it's kind of like understanding this and processing this. But the feeling with this is really like very much so wanting it to be known. There's a sense of peace before I pass.
Yes.
And a knowingness around this of I'm okay, I'm fine. Like I knew, and I'm okay. This is coming in as like, I don't know why they're having me talk about a younger person, but they're having me revolve around like the incident. And this is interesting. They're showing me like fluid, it feels like pressure, it's like a whole thing.
Yes.
And catalyst.
There was a massive situation.
She's gonna get really emotional.
Okay. But they're having me acknowledge a physical catalyst that would contribute to a decline.
Right.
So when that comes through to me, it's usually like an incident or something that happens that causes someone to basically be suddenly immobile.
It did.
But kind of more in an incidental way,
Right.
typically. And the thing is that they're having me acknowledge like this happens, but this doesn't kill the individual in that moment. It's just like a catalyst that kind of contributes to a decline. But they're bringing this to brain for some reason. The development or the mindset of this
Yes.
child would have been
Yes.
affected after this.
Yes.
It's weird. I don't know why this is, but they were having me talk about like, at the time that this happened, it's being really horrible because of the plans. I don't know if there was like a vacation planned, but they're drawing
We
this
just come back
contrast.
from a massive vacation.
I got you.
Yeah.
So there's this feeling of like, oh my God, going from one mindset into a
Yes.
completely different one.
Entirely.
And it's like a whole thing.
Right.
So they're having me talk about a situation. For some reason, this younger energy is having me talk about alone, 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 alone. But they're putting this more so in the context of having me refer to like what led up to this for some reason.
Oh,
what this is.
Yes.
Let me see.
I know what you're talking about.
So that makes sense.
Complete sense.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, honey. You're like, you're totally with you. Yes. But that's where you're at right now. That's
Right.
like unreal.